You listed your house, you got some showings, and then the offers just didn't come. Or they came in way lower than you expected, and you're sitting there wondering what went wrong. Your home felt fine to you, maybe even great, but the buyers walked through, took one look at a few specific things, and quietly crossed it off the list. And nobody told you why. That happens more than you think. And most of the time, it's not the price. It's the problems. Problems that are either visible the second someone walks in, or problems that come up in the inspection report and scare buyers right off the deal. If you're getting ready to sell, or even if you're years away from selling but want to protect the value of what you've built, hit subscribe before we begin, because this one is going to save you real money. I'm Jerry Davis, and I've spent a long time in construction, renovation, and working directly with homeowners on both the building side and the selling side of real estate. I know what buyers react to because I've been in those homes. I've heard what their agents say when they walk back out to the car. And I want to give you the honest version of what's actually killing your sale, not the polished, sugar-coated version you'd get from someone trying to avoid an awkward conversation. Let's start with the one thing that will stop a buyer cold before they even get inside the house. Curb appeal sounds like a real estate buzzword, but here's what it actually means in practice. A buyer pulls up, they spend about 15 to 30 seconds looking at the outside of your home before they walk through the front door. And in that window, they have already started forming an opinion about everything they're going to see inside. It's not fair. It's just how people work. So, when the exterior paint is faded, when the landscaping is overgrown or completely dead, when the driveway has cracking and staining all the way up to the front step, the buyer walks in already skeptical. They start looking for problems instead of falling in love with the space. You don't need a full landscape overhaul. You need fresh mulch, trimmed edges, power-washed concrete, and paint that doesn't look like it's been there since 2004. That's it. That's the entry point. If you skip that step because it feels cosmetic and unnecessary, you're already losing buyers before they touch the doorknob. Now let's get inside. The first thing that hits a buyer when they walk into a home is the smell. And this one is brutal because most sellers are completely noseblind to it. You've lived in your house. You can't smell your pets, your cooking habits, your basement, or your bathroom the same way a stranger can. Buyers can. A musty smell tells them there's moisture somewhere. A pet smell tells them the carpet is compromised and they're going to need to replace it. An old smoke smell in the walls is almost impossible to paint over, and experienced buyers know that. The fix here isn't a bunch of air fresheners. That actually makes it worse, because buyers can smell what you're trying to cover up. The fix is real remediation. Steam. Clean the carpets, clean the HVAC system, wash the walls, and if there's pet odor in hardwood, you may be looking at refinishing those floors. Don't skip this step and assume buyers will just deal with it. They won't. They'll just go to the next house. Here's where I see a lot of sellers make a confident mistake. They did renovations, they put money into the house, and they think that's going to carry them through any buyer concern. But then the inspection report comes back and there's something wrong with the roof. Maybe it's got 8 years left. Maybe there are a few missing shingles. Maybe the inspector flagged soft spots near the chimney flashing. And all of a sudden, the buyer is asking for a $15,000 credit, or they're walking. This is one of those problems that you should know about before you list. Get a pre-listing inspection. Spend the $400. Find out what's going on with your roof, your electrical panel, your plumbing, your crawl space. Because the things that scare buyers most on an inspection report are the things that feel structural. Roof issues, foundation cracks, old electrical, galvanized plumbing. These aren't deal breakers if you handle them or price for them honestly. They are deal breakers when a buyer finds them unexpectedly and feels like you were hiding them. Can we talk about electrical panels for a minute? Because this one drives me nuts. There are still homes out there with Federal Pacific stab lock panels. And there are sellers who either don't know what that means or don't want to bring it up. Here's what no one tells you. A lot of insurance companies won't insure a home with one of those panels anymore. So even if you find a buyer who is okay with it, their insurance company might not be, and that can kill the financing entirely. Same issue with 60 amp service in a house that's clearly been updated over the years. Buyers trying to run modern appliances, EV chargers, home offices, they know that panel isn't going to cut it. If your panel is a problem, you've got a few options. You replace it before listing, you price the home to account for it, or you disclose it upfront and offer a credit. What you don't do is hope nobody notices. They're going to notice. Let's talk about kitchens, because buyers put a disproportionate amount of weight on the kitchen. I get it. It's where a lot of life happens. But here's the problem I see constantly. Sellers update the kitchen, but they update it selectively. They put in new countertops, but leave the original 1998 cabinet boxes with just new doors on them. Or they replace the countertops and backsplash, but leave the fluorescent lighting. Or they put in beautiful quartz counters, new hardware, a great faucet, but the layout is still dysfunctional. No counter space next to the refrigerator, a dishwasher that blocks the main prep area when it's open, a pantry that's really just a shallow closet with 3 shelves. Buyers notice layout almost more than finishes because they're imagining themselves cooking in there. A gorgeous but impractical kitchen is almost worse than a dated but functional one, because with a dated kitchen, they can plan for an eventual renovation. With a badly laid out kitchen, they know they're going to have to rip everything out and start over. If you're renovating a kitchen to sell, talk to someone about flow and function before you pick a single tile. Now, let's talk about bathrooms, and specifically about the one bathroom mistake that's all over social media right now. The full wet room. The curbless shower with floor-to-ceiling tile and a bench, and linear drains, and all of it. Don't get me wrong, when it's done right, it looks incredible. I've seen beautiful wet rooms, but when it's done by a contractor who didn't properly slope the floor, didn't use the right membrane system, didn't get the waterproofing right behind the walls, that bathroom is going to have moisture issues within 2 to 3 years. And buyers know this now. They look at curbless showers and they ask about waterproofing. They check the grout lines for staining. They press on the tile near the floor to feel for soft spots. The trend got popular fast, and a lot of it was installed by crews who had never done one before. If you have a wet room installed by someone who knew what they were doing, great. If you're not sure, get it inspected before a buyer finds a problem you didn't know you had. This is where people mess up more than almost anywhere else. The finished basement. Sellers finish a basement, add some recessed lighting, put down LVP flooring, frame out a bedroom or two, and think they've added serious square footage and value. Sometimes they have. But here's the issue. If that basement bedroom doesn't have proper egress, meaning a window that meets code for emergency exit, it legally cannot be called a bedroom. And buyers working with a good agent or a good inspector are going to catch that. You've got a finished room with a small window that doesn't open wide enough, and now that room goes from a bedroom to a bonus room in the listing description. And the buyer's perception of your square footage changes. Same issue with basement finishes that were done without permits. That's another flag on the inspection report that makes buyers nervous about what else was done without permits. Finish the basement right, pull the permits, put in proper egress, or don't advertise it as bedroom space. Let's talk about deferred maintenance, because this is the category that quietly destroys buyer confidence more than anything else. It's not one big problem. It's 20 small ones. A door that doesn't latch right. A window that won't open. Outlet covers that are cracked. A bathroom fan that sounds like it's dying. Grout that's been cracked for 2 years. Caulk around the tub that has turned gray and is pulling away from the wall. Every single one of those things by itself is a $10 fix. But when a buyer walks through a house and sees 15 of them, what they conclude is that this home has not been taken care of. And if these visible things weren't maintained, what about the things they can't see? That's the thought process. Deferred maintenance sends a signal. Before you list, Walk through your house like a buyer and fix everything that's been on your mental to-do list for the last 2 years. It matters more than you think. Now let's talk about something that's genuinely becoming a bigger issue for resale. HVAC systems, specifically older ones. A buyer walks in, they see a furnace from 2001, they see an AC condenser that's rusting at the base, and their agent tells them the expected lifespan of that equipment. Suddenly, they're factoring in a $7,000 to $12,000 replacement into their offer. If your HVAC system is over 15 years old, you have a decision to make. Either replace it before listing and use that as a selling point, get it fully serviced, and provide the paperwork showing it's in good working order, or price accordingly. What I see sellers do wrong is ignore it completely and then get blindsided when a buyer asks for a $10,000 credit in negotiation. Have the conversation before you list. Know what you're dealing with. Here's a pro tip that almost nobody talks about: storage. Buyers are obsessed with storage in a way that doesn't always show up in listing photos, but absolutely shows up when they walk through the house. Small closets kill deals in smaller homes. No linen closet is a problem. A primary bedroom closet that's really just a reach-in with one rod and a single shelf is going to be compared against every other house they tour with a walk-in. You can't always add space, but you can maximize what's there. Pull everything out of every closet, install a real organization system, and show the buyer that the storage works. Clean, organized storage feels like more space. Crammed, stuffed closets feel like the house doesn't have enough room to live in comfortably. It's a simple detail that affects perception significantly. And the last one: overbuilt for the neighborhood. I know this sounds counterintuitive, but stay with me. You renovated your home beautifully. You put in $80,000 worth of work. You've got the best finishes on the block. And now you're trying to sell it for $150,000 more than anything else within half a mile. Buyers who can afford that number are looking in neighborhoods that have other homes at that price point. And buyers who love your neighborhood are getting sticker shock the second they see your ask. You can absolutely update your home and improve its value, but there's a ceiling in every neighborhood. And when you go significantly above it, you limit your buyer pool dramatically. A good contractor or designer will tell you this before you start a project. A good one will say, look, here's what makes sense for your area, and here's where you start spending money you won't get back. Tell me in the comments which one of these you were about to do or already have done, because I guarantee at least one of them shows up in almost every home sale conversation I've had over the years. You're not alone, but now you know what to look at and what to talk about before you put that sign in the yard. A good home sale doesn't start with a listing price. It starts with an honest walkthrough of your own property. Fix the small stuff. Know your big stuff. Disclose what you know. And stop assuming buyers won't notice what you've been ignoring. They always do. If this was useful, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who's getting ready to sell. I'll catch you in the next one.